Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 15 of the Deus Ex Cinema Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Clues, joined only this week by Marty Adams.
We're the last ones left.
Isaiah and Soraya have both abandoned us. Isaiah only lasted one episode.
All he did was talk about fucking coming on figurines.
It was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, all he did was show us a picture, and it was really gross, and then we moved on.
The star-studded appearance. Or was he in the... I think he was in the bonus episode that we did before we went annual of The Predator.
I think I wasn't part of that one.
Yeah, you weren't on that one, but Austin was too. Anyways.
Yeah.
So this is our fourth or fifth roundtable now. So we're between genre rotations. So we each have a topic that we're going to talk about. And then I will reveal my pick for our first musical movie that we'll be watching for next week's episode.
I'm really excited for that. Because I think I know what you're doing. So.
I'm sure you do. There's no surprise here. All right, Marty, do you want to go first or should I?
I can go first, since I honestly don't think there will be too much aside from just kind of going off this key info thing from the Witcher subreddit. Because I wanted to talk about the new upcoming Witcher TV series, Netflix series or whatever.
All right.
So it kind of seems like it's going to be following the same format as The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, 45 minutes to an hour long, somewhere around there.
Okay.
At least for the beginning. I guess there's speculation for longer ones, but yeah. So it's supposed to be coming out sometime this year. I would tentatively say 2020.
Okay.
Just to play it safe, because there's basically been nothing released for it at all.
Except for that awful screen test of Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
Which I don't know why they released that.
Yeah, and I don't know if I agree with having Henry Cavill play Geralt, honestly. I like Henry Cavill.
I dig it.
We'll have to see how he delivers.
Yeah. I mean, he's a pretty good actor, though.
That's true.
And he's a really big Witcher fan. Yeah. And even especially of the books, from the interviews I've seen.
Yeah, so which that's another thing in case people don't know. These are going to be based off the books. And
the first book for the first season, I think.
Well, I don't know if was that confirmed?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was. Which I find interesting because the first book is only short stories.
Mm-hmm. Which might play well into the TV series kind of thing.
I think so, especially when you're looking at it being a pretty experimental, I guess. Because Netflix doesn't really have any big fantasy shows that I know of.
Right.
And there really aren't any besides Game of Thrones right now.
Yeah.
I guess Vikings on History Channel. But
that's kind of a different...
Who cares about Vikings?
Yeah. So, I don't know. From the picture that I saw, of him all in makeup and stuff, he looked too much like a fucking pretty boy to be Geralt.
Yeah, I think it was mostly the wig.
Yeah.
The wig was too long, and it looked really, really fake. He looked like an elf from Lord of the Rings.
So hopefully that's a preliminary thing. Maybe he'll dirty up once he gets into stuff. But
if he just had a beard and one face scar.
Yeah, because
you just nail it.
Because the whole deal with Geralt seems to be that he's always fucking off in the shit doing stuff,
Yeah. Yeah.
No time for I don't think in his character he wants to be all clean and perfect like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. So I haven't really seen anything else aside from that one picture, to be honest with you.
Well, so the other stuff is we talked about the other casting, which I could look up here.
Yeah.
Because I know that there was some controversy with that because Triss is being played by a black actress. Which is kind of just shut the fuck up. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
I think the big thing that they're going off with that is because they are filming it, in Europe and Budapest, Poland and stuff. I think their big thing is oh well, if it's the Eastern European stuff, Slavic or whatever.
Yeah.
Why do we have a black person in there, whatever?
Get over it.
But
I don't think it matters.
No, but
who cares?
That's kind of what they're going off of, I think.
Yeah.
And it's you haven't even seen it yet. You don't know how true to the books or the concept they're really trying to be, or if they're trying to go off on a tangent, basically say, here's the Witcher books. I want to try and make something inspired by it more than anything, which I think would be totally fair.
Well, especially even because the big argument, when you are talking about it being very Slavic, is I can understand where they're coming from, saying if it's Slavic, there was probably only white people in that region, or predominantly white people in that region at that time period.
We know.
But we're also talking about a fantasy series where not only are there dwarves and elves, but there's also a bunch of monsters. And the elves and all the monsters came from an entire another fucking dimension because the dimensions just collided.
I mean, shit, if you're just going off of the games, which are like what really made them popular.
Yeah.
You know, in the fucking last one, there was portals to all these different, like, fucking universes and,
Yeah.
like, weird planets in the middle of nowhere and stuff.
Well, yeah, and I mean, in the final book, not the final fight, but the final of the series arc, I guess, like chronologically final, because he put out that new awful one. It's revealed that all the elves came from Camelot, with like King Arthur and shit.
Yeah.
Awful book. The last one's absolute garbage. But so I don't think it's too big of a stretch that maybe there's a black girl.
Yeah, I know. And they've been apparently using, was it Sapkowski? Is the guy's name?
Yeah.
Like,
Andrzej Sapkowski.
Yeah.
Miserable bastard.
Apparently, like, a couple of the team's been meeting with him a couple times a year for him to read over the scripts and kind of give his guidance and input on it.
Yeah.
You know, he's not directing it or writing anything, but he's trying to make sure it's up to, I guess, his specs.
Which I'm kind of fine with, since it is the first book. And the first ones are really good. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, though.
Well, because you have to worry about, like, if this latest book was, like, you know, how it is.
Yeah.
Is that the mindset he's in now? And is that how he would want to have taken the original book?
Yeah.
You know, so that's... Or does he want to be more true to the way he wrote it in the past and stick with that whole frame of mind?
Hopefully they don't listen to him too much. One thing, though, that I do find interesting is, before Henry Cavill was announced, a lot of people were trying to get Mads Mikkelsen. Mm-hmm. And looking at their casting list, his brother Lars Mikkelsen is cast as Stregobor instead of Mads Mikkelsen.
Oh my god!
So at least we got one of them.
See, and someone brought up how, like, someone said Mark Hamill should play Vesemir, and I was, thinking about it. That wouldn't be so bad. He's got the beard and the whole thing going on, but at the same time, I don't think he's like a fucking. I don't know the word.
I don't think he has the gravitas.
I think that's what
to play Vesemir. Also, Vesemir's not in this season because he's not in the first book. But
yeah, where do the games? Because I haven't read any books.
Yeah,
where do the games fit into the book storyline?
They don't at all.
Okay,
which is the thing. So the main books, and spoilers for the Witcher books, if anyone gives a shit. The main books. So the first two are just an assortment of short stories about Geralt, and introduce some of the characters. Like his one dwarf friend who I can't remember. It introduces Triss.
But Torque.
Yeah. Or Zoltan, I think.
Yeah.
Zoltan Ygritte or whatever. So it introduces him, Triss, Yennefer, Queen Callanth, a lot of the side characters in the first one. And then the second one are more short stories, but then it starts introducing Ciri. And then I think it's 5 books that are all about Geralt and Ciri. And Ciri running away and Geralt trying to find Ciri, pretty much, is all 5 books.
Right, which is kind of where the games took a spin off of that whole thing.
Well, no.
No?
So then what ends up happening is at the end, because, Ciri's the child of the Elder Blood, so she can teleport and shit. So she runs away. She just completely disappears because everyone wants to kill her.
Right.
And harvest her. There's this wizard called Vigoforts, or Vigoforts? Some evil wizard wants to harvest her blood to do crazy shit.
Wigglefarts, okay.
Wigglefarts. and then at the end of the last book, Geralt dies. And Ciri travels to other dimensions and just disappears. And Geralt dies in a revolution that starts against mutants and dwarves and elves. And then, right after he dies, that starts an invasion from Novigrad, or, not Novigrad. Niflgard?
Nilfgaard.
Nilfgaard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me double check that.
The guys with the black armor.
Yeah. Nilfgaard. Okay. Oof.
Nilfgaard, okay.
And so Nilfgaard starts invading, and then the first game picks up with Geralt suddenly coming back to life, but with amnesia. So it takes place after all the books, and it's completely non-canon because he's dead.
Right.
And then the first game is about Nilfgaard's invasion into Novigrad, and the second game is that some more, but then it's also about Geralt getting his memory back, and then once he gets his memory back, he goes after to find Ciri. And then, which is when the Wild Hunt is then coming after Ciri. And they're also in the books a little bit, but they're a little bit different in the books than they are in the game.
It's convoluted as fuck, is what you're saying.
Yes, very convoluted. So the games technically have nothing to do with the books, and they can be completely enjoyed separate each other. Except for really the first game, because that one really relies on him having been dead. But it's also really hard to play at this point, because it's very dated.
Right.
But it's got a really good story, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to get through them. It's just...
Yeah. The second one, I think the second one's still worth it.
There used to be like a game mode where you can skip all the combat stuff and just get through the plot. But, yeah, and then that's another issue that could be brought up for this TV series, is if it's going to be that kind of in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
You know, with a lot of side tangents that all tie together. You know, it's going to be hit or miss on if they can really make it tangible without dumbing it down, you know?
Yeah.
Which it could be a good thing if they do, because, I mean, it's simplified for, like, the sake of the games. You know, it's like a separate, concept almost.
Yeah.
And it worked out great. So maybe they do simplify it and it works great, or maybe they leave it complicated and it backfires.
Yeah.
Or it works great. So...
I wonder, let me see who's writing it, because I feel like a lot of it's going to come down to the writing.
The writers, as far as this says, they're not released yet?
Let's see here. Already writing the finale. Okay. Lauren Hisrich. Lauren S. Hisrich. What else have you written, woman? She has written scripts for television series The West Wing and Justice, as well as written and produced shows such as Parenthood, Do Not Harm, Private Practice, Daredevil, and The Defenders. And she's the showrunner of The Witcher.
I don't know.
So I've heard West Wing's really good.
Yeah.
I didn't like Daredevil.
I was gonna say that's the one that sticks out to me as being worrisome,
and especially when you're talking about especially when you're talking about Witcher. Like Witcher's a very hard series to write for, I think, because everything is so murky,
right,
and handled in such a really mature way where you have to be really subtle with a lot of its themes and its motifs.
Well, and and that's another, I feel like in a way, film can be some of the weakest forms of media in that sense, because with books you have all the space and stuff you need, and you can convey things a little bit more subtly, I think.
Yeah.
Through just the reader's empathy and all that, because it's left up to the imagination more, and games allow you to again put yourself in these characters' positions.
Yeah.
They can extend the storylines to longer formats. So that's another thing is, what if they try and rush it through and oversimplify it for the sake of the viewer. And I feel like ham-fisting The Witcher might be pretty detrimental.
Oh yeah, it's if you start ham-fisting it, it's done, really, because that's what the last couple books were.
Right.
Where they were very ham-fisted, and it just didn't work. It just doesn't. It just feels artificial and awful.
And almost grotesque for the sake of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, from what you've been telling me about that last book.
Yeah. It's not good at all. So maybe what we could do here, though, is look at some of Netflix's original series and kind of think how well we think of a job they could do with it. Because I think there's a big difference between sort of the Netflix original series that are developed in-house and the ones like the movies that they just buy.
Right.
Because they tend to take a really just throw it all at the wall and see what sticks sort of approach. So I was thinking maybe we could just talk some of the bigger ones down.
Yeah.
So there's House of Cards, which I would say is a good sign towards a good Witcher.
Yeah.
Pretty complicated, a lot of conversation, which is a lot of Witcher. Like really, when you look at Witcher, even the games to a point, there's not a lot of action.
Right, which that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping it's a little bit, honestly, more like the parts of Game of Thrones in the sense that it's all about the dialogue and the plot.
It's all about the discussion, and even like if another thing I'm worried about is I don't want it when they're approaching how they portray Geralt and especially Witchers in general. I want it to be more like the books because in the games, you can kill like 25 people in one go because it's a game. But in the books, it's like still even 4 or 5 people and he's having issues, or even like almost every monster fight, he almost doesn't make it out.
It's like, he's got all this stuff, but he's still basically just a man.
Yeah, he's just a really angry man with cool eyes. Yeah. And they can take potions that almost kill him.
Yeah.
So we have House of Cards, Orange is the New Black.
I haven't actually seen that, so I'm not really.
I've only seen a little bit of it. Marco Polo, I haven't seen. Sense8 is the Wachowski series. That's awful. Real ham-fisted garbage.
Well, I mean, that's what I've seen so far from bits I've seen. It's been all over the place as far as actual like quality. Because I noticed one trend of them. It almost seems like if they gave amateur filmmakers a big budget. Yeah. As far as like real simple shots that don't really capture anything. That's been the big thing I noticed is the camera shots.
Yep.
Just make it look almost like a soap opera in a lot of ways. And that's been a common trend among a lot of the Netflix series.
Yeah. There's Stranger Things.
Which obviously.
Which is good, I guess. I didn't watch much of it. Narcos, I've heard, is great. Series of Unfortunate Events, I was not a fan of at all. 13 Reasons Why is some of the worst television I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, that could be a whole podcast right there.
Mindhunter was really good. Another slow burn. That was Fincher, though, so that probably is a good part of it. Haunting of Hill House, that was good. All the Marvel shit, could not care less about.
Like all the teenager Marvel stuff.
Yeah. Well, then there's also BoJack, which gives me quite a bit of hope because that's a very intelligent, mature, but also very artistic show.
Right, where it handles themes that are difficult to handle.
Yeah. And Netflix seems very proud of that show, so I would hope that they'd be willing to take that same sort of approach with The Witcher, where it's like, okay, yeah, kind of do whatever it is you want to do here. I mean, like the new season of BoJack had a 30-minute episode of just him giving a eulogy. It was just Will Arnett talking for 30 minutes.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think they really need to let the people who are making it, who I really hope are genuine fans of the universe. Yeah. Because if you trust the people that love the books and the games, the world, the characters, if you trust them to make what they want to, usually it'll turn out good because they care and they'll put the time into it. It's just usually when the corporations and the companies start coming in and telling them what they need to do to try and get viewers or get basically ad revenue.
I mean, that's the difference between the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. Right? It's like one of them they were like, just do whatever you want, I guess. Go ahead, Peter Jackson. And then the other one they forced them to do it and they were garbage. Yeah,
because I mean, a passion project with a budget backed by like Netflix or something, could be great. Yeah, and that's what I'm really hoping for with it because I like it and I like the universe and I want to see it succeed. Yeah, which is why I'm nervous for it.
I guess the other one here, the only other one that's really sticking out to me that might be somewhat related would be the Castlevania anime, because that is an adapted property that really doesn't have much to do with what it's adapted from. It's dark fantasy, much like Witcher would be, I hope. But it also has, I would think, a pretty controversial subject matter because it's very anti-religious. And it's really dark and it's really gory. Like, everyone's miserable.
Which sounds like The Witcher to me, man.
Yeah. So I am hopeful, at least, that if it comes out bad, I don't think it's going to be a problem of Netflix interfering. I think it's just going to be the people making it not being capable enough to make it well.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess what I really want to see is atmosphere, because that's the big thing, especially like, you go to Velen. Yeah. And everything's supposed to be bleak and kind of just like sickly and the people are supposed to be miserable and poor and dying. Yeah. And I hope they capture that. Because that's what I want to see. I'd rather look into the details of the universe, of the world. Yeah. Instead of this like grand arc. It's kind of like you say playing fucking Skyrim or something. Like, you don't care about the main dragons and stuff like that. Really, like that's not what makes it. And I'm afraid that they would focus so much on just telling Geralt's story that they wouldn't really delve into what the world actually is.
Yeah.
Because I think that's what a lot of people want to see. They want to feel like they're a part of it.
Really, what would sell it for me is if, like, the opening shot, even if it's just the opening sequence or like a cold open, is there's that one tree in Velen, the hanging tree.
Hanging tree, yeah.
Just have like the desolate, dour, like gloomy, cloudy landscape, and then just the hanging tree with like 7 bodies hanging from it.
You know, yeah. Give me stuff like the Crones. You know, like just a real dark, bleak, almost hopeless kind of.
Yeah.
Because that, again, it was just the games. It's not really canon, but like, you know, was it the Bloody Baron?
Yeah, Bloody Baron's fantastic.
And the Crones, like that whole atmosphere. Like if I could get an entire world, a TV show, another game, fucking anything, of just that kind of setting, just in the swamps, you know, like.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Bloody Baron could be a whole season of television by himself.
Exactly.
So let's see. So I looked up a list of the stories that are in that first novel.
Which, again, that's kind of reminded me, like, you know, that's another part that I'm excited for, is if it is going off these short stories, I want to see more into the daily life of a Witcher.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to see these grand adventures. I want to see, like, he's doing this one job to go do, you know, kill this monster or kill, like, a wraith or something. Like, I just want to see what the life of a Witcher is. Yeah.
Which is the best part about the first 2 books, is that they are so small in scope, and it's not, like, him whining and bitching to elves and just traveling from city to city. It's like, all right. I mean, there's one, I think it might be in the second book, it might be in this one when we look through these. But there's one that's just 40 to 50 pages of him talking to a vampire, like a lesser vampire, and just deciding whether or not to kill it. And that's all it is.
Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff I want, because I want to see what it's like to be in the world. Like, that's what I want. I don't care so much about these, like, big plot lines that have, like, world-ending catastrophes. Like, you know, so, like, even if it's just like a quest, like, I forgot what quest it was from the game, but where, you know, there's like a husband and wife, or boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever, a couple, and was it the one turned into like a wraith or something, or some kind of, and I want to see the personal problems that people have, you know, that they're not going to affect the people in the town over there. You know, it's just like an individual story, like an individual's story, I should say.
So do you want to maybe go through the possible short stories for the first season? So the first one is The Bounds of Reason, which is, it starts off with Geralt hunting and killing a basilisk in a crypt, which is the introduction to the first game. It's really the main part of the books that really comes up, besides like the Ciri relation and all the relationships. So he hunts and kills a basilisk, and then he ends up with a caravan to go and hunt a dragon, which is, I believe, the only time a dragon is ever brought up in the novels, and even really the games.
Yeah, I mean, there's like that griffin or hippogriff or whatever, but that's about the closest you ever even got.
Or there's like the drake by the tower, I think. But and the cool thing about this short story is, again, spoilers for the Witcher novels, but it turns out in the Witcher world that dragons can turn into humans. So it's just someone that's in their party the whole time. And they're all going to go kill him, and then Witcher decides not to kill him because he's a sentient creature. He doesn't kill sentient creatures. So I think those both would actually be really good first 2 episodes, because you could have him killing the basilisk and the fallout afterwards, and then him hunting the dragon and deciding not to kill it.
Yeah, because I mean, there's plenty of like internal and external conflict, you know, and all of that.
Well, especially because when he's hunting the basilisk, it's not just a basilisk, because it's Witcher, so it never is.
Right. It's
like some king's daughter that was cursed or something, and he's trying to lift the curse, but it doesn't work, so he has to kill it. And then he gets punished for it because he killed the king's daughter.
Yeah.
And it looks like the other one's a shard of ice, which is one where... Oh, God, this one. So he has to go into a sewer and kill a beast called a Zugel. And it's more stuff of him and Yennefer, which is also when he goes to hunt the dragon, Yennefer's also in that. So you could have a good... sort of introduction to that relationship, because that is so important in the books, and again the game. That's also the one where this goes further into Geralt and Yennefer's relationship, where he decides that he wants to marry her, which doesn't go well.
She's a witch.
And then there's the Eternal Flame, where Geralt meets Dudu. And Dandelion. So we have Dandelion in here. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember Dudu from Witcher 3. He's the shapeshifter that becomes an actor.
Yeah.
I love Dudu. So that's really most of that. But yeah, that's easily an episode.
Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I would want to see. Like, I want to see the individual daily life of Geralt overview.
Mm-hmm. And then the fourth one is A Little Sacrifice, which is about a mermaid that falls in love with a human prince. So I don't think Geralt is in this one as much, but that would almost be good.
Yeah, I think because, again, it gives you more insight into the universe that they're setting in. In a way, it would almost be nice if they spent the first season doing these kind of tangents, like just kind of building the world, building the characters, and then if they really want to start adding in the bigger scale stuff, bring it into like season 2 or 3 or something. So that way, like, you have an understanding of what the world is and who the characters are and like what the stakes really are.
Definitely,
because that's always like the big problem for me with a lot of these big fantasy things is they throw you right into this big calamity, and you have no context on why anything even matters.
Yeah. Well, it's just, and then you almost have to watch it twice. It's like you have to watch it once, and then learn a bunch of shit, and go back and watch it again, already knowing that stuff to understand it.
Yeah.
All right, and then, so then there's the Sword of Destiny, which I was wrong. Ciri's actually in the first book, and she's not really in the second one much. Okay. So this is the story of that introduces the Witcher Law of Surprise, and this is where he first meets Ciri. I would maybe, if I was thinking of season structure, I'd probably put this as the last one and use it to sort of hint towards renewal seasons.
Right, and I mean, especially because that's what a lot of people that are going to be watching this are going to be familiar with. Cause, you know, it's been a couple years since The Witcher 3, and that's what really brought the whole series home for a lot of the general public.
Yeah.
You know, because they did such a good job with it. So that would be enough familiarity for all the people that only came into the series with Witcher 3 kind of like I did.
Yeah.
Where they might say, like, okay, now I'm interested. Now they're bringing into stuff I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a good financial decision, too.
Oh, definitely.
But,
yeah, so you could easily fill a whole season with that, though.
Yeah, so... Well, I guess we'll keep our fingers crossed. I want it so bad.
We'll just have to wait. Maybe when it comes out, we can do a bonus episode on it.
Yeah.
Talking about it. All right. Anything else on the Witcher series?
Nope, let's talk about your thing.
All right, so my topic is we go to the theater a lot, right?
Too much.
I used to work at a theater. I've worked there for about 2 years. Almost a manager of one. Good thing I didn't.
Because you would have peaked.
I would have peaked real hard. Real hard. And I have always hated the gimmick of 3D. It's because it's never really done well. I can't think of a single movie that's done 3D well.
No, all it does is distract from the actual movie.
Yeah, and it's always, it's garbage. So I thought it would be interesting to maybe go down some old theater gimmicks of yonder years. So right off the top of the list, I have 3D. Neither one of us likes 3D. I was thinking maybe I don't know if you have any particular memories of awful 3D or good 3D. I have a particular story.
My first 3D movie ever. It was really a 4D experience.
Really?
To get into it. It was down, it was Honey, I Shrunk the Audience.
Well, I have 4D later. That's further on the list.
But this was my first experience with 3D. The 4D, I wouldn't even count it as 4D. They had air vents blowing on the back of your legs. That was it.
Oh, God. That's awful.
Yeah. But yeah, it was the first 3D with Rick Moranis.
Oh, yeah.
And
I love me some Rick Moranis.
That was the big thing because that was back in like 2000.
Yeah.
And 3D was just starting to be like good 3D without the red and blue.
Yeah.
It was just starting to be a thing.
God, that was so big back then. It was like every child's movie had 3D just in case.
Yeah, fucking Spy Kids 3D. But
that one, so there, I don't know if you remember this, but Spy Kids 3D, even when you bought the DVD, came with 2 sets of glasses.
Oh, I still have them.
And then there was also Sly Cooper 3 had 3D mode.
Yeah.
Where if you already had a set of glasses, you could put it in 3D mode. I did not have 3D glasses, but I was like, I'll see if it works anyways. Played it for 2 hours, and it gave me a migraine.
Well, no shit. But yeah, so Honey, I Shrunk the Audience was my first experience, and I was scared of it because I was 7.
Okay, that's believable.
And then like the air vents would blow in the back of your legs, and it was like, the last one I saw was Rogue One, I think.
Okay,
and that's
really recent.
It was good actually. I would see Star Wars in 3D again.
Okay,
it's Star Wars, lots of flashing lights, crazy movements.
I think the worst example of 3D I've ever seen was the movie Need for Speed, starring Aaron Paul. I only saw it in 3D because I was working at the theater at the time and it was free, and I had heard that it had awful 3D, and I wanted to see for myself. So it's a car racing movie, right?
Right.
The only parts that there was 3D, like most 3D movies, it was not shot in 3D. It was done in post, like a lot of IMAX movies, which is just a waste. So the only part that was 3D is every once in a while it would cut to Michael Keaton. And he was like a race commentator, podcaster. And it did all these shots of him podcasting. He'd be like talking over the races. And they would be like the recording cameras. So it had the generic recording symbol in the corner. That was 3D. That would stick out from the screen. And that was it. That was all the 3D. And it was like $3.50 extra for the ticket.
That just blows my mind. Like someone's job was to knowingly make that one little thing 3D, and that was it.
Yep.
He's like, you want me to do anything else? No, just do that.
And then to export a different file format and sell it as a 3D movie.
It probably took him like 10 minutes.
Tops.
Like just to pull it out.
Yeah.
It probably took longer to render.
Probably. Easily. Definitely. I can't think of any good 3D movies I've seen. I think I've seen one that I was like, okay, the 3D's actually worth it on this.
Yeah, well, and Rogue One, I saw it both 3D and non 3D, and I think if you just want to watch it to actually see what's happening, like obviously the normal 2D one is better.
Yeah.
But it was actually surprisingly well done.
Yeah.
As far as like it was tasteful, and it wasn't too distracting, but it added to some cool kind of. Like it didn't feel like a gimmick for it. Like they didn't try and focus on the 3D. It was just there to try and like supplement a couple scenes.
Okay. So the one that I saw that was really good was Gravity.
I could see it. Yeah, that seems like it's kind of the whole.
Because it's all about depth and just like the space of it all. No pun intended. So that one was really good on. So the next thing I had was IMAX, which I don't know if I'd really consider IMAX a gimmick.
No, but I have to admit I've actually the only IMAX that I saw was one of those like 360 like museum IMAXs. Yeah. Where it was just like a big thing where he's like, oh, now we're going like jumping off a cliff on like a hang glider kind of thing, like just basically showing that technology, I guess. I saw the Bryan Cranston Godzilla in IMAX. That was an amazing experience. I want to see that so bad. We're gonna go see the new Godzilla in IMAX. I promise you. There's one in Fitchburg. Did that have a release date? Yeah, May. Comes out in May. Yes. Because so does John Wick Part 3. Yes. So we'll still be here. We'll still be together. That's before you break up with me. The only reason I would call IMAX a gimmick is probably 75% of IMAX movies aren't filmed in IMAX, so it's pointless. Mm-hmm. It's just a bigger screen and louder speakers. Right. But when you get like a movie that's really shot for IMAX, like Dark Knight was amazing in IMAX. So that's a big one. And then I guess we could go into 4D. We already talked about it a little bit. And that's before we start getting into the really weird shit I found. Yeah. The last 4D experience I had was at the Chicago Aquarium. Okay. There's a tiny little fucking theater and buried in the back of that thing. You wait 10 minutes, you go in there, find out it was only a 5-minute jigger, but like... Probably $20 too. You sit down, and it's like, it was like dolphins and fucking... sharks and undersea water life stuff, and they had little water sprays that would spray on whenever there's like splashes, like they would breach the surface and you would get like a little like God, that's annoying. It would just jizz on your face. Yeah, it was fun. So I have had 3 different 4D experiences. Mm-hmm. The worst one was Shrek 4D. It just smells like ogre. Yep, and up at Noah's Ark, where it smells like ogre and it splashes you and it like blows cold air on you. And it's miserable. It's an awful time. Just like, stop. It's like 20 minutes of annoyance. And then you get wet, and so like all the seats are wet, and you've been waiting in line so long that you've dried off, and then you get wet just a little bit. Yeah. It's awful. And it's like you get wet, and then they blast you with cold air, so you're freezing, and you're just in swim trunks. All they do is just sit there and torture you for 20 minutes. Pretty much. And it's not funny. It looks like shit. Then I saw SpongeBob in 4D, which was absolutely fantastic. Oh, yeah? No, it's just as bad.
It was also at Noah's Ark.
Oh my god.
And then the other one that I saw was, and I don't know if you could actually. I've seen 4, because then at Six Flags they used Six Flags Great America in Illinois. They used to have the big spaceship, and there was one I went on where it was Freak Fest or Fright Fest, the Halloween one, whatever. Hellfest, I don't know.
Whatever.
And it was a roller coaster, and it would move the seats, and it had fans.
Okay, yeah, I do remember I did go on to one. I forgot where it was. It might have been Disney World. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But it was a space one.
Oh, that'd
you
be
were in
cool.
Fucking like spaceship, and you like drop through the floor and like
Oh,
all
that's
stuff.
fun.
It was awesome. I mean, it took like an hour to get through it, but
Yeah.
like,
And then probably the best 4D I've had was at Disneyland, the one in Florida.
World.
I don't fucking know. I don't care. If you know, you're a nerd. And it was the Lilo and Stitch ride, which I'm going to count as 4D because it had a lot of the same gimmicks. I don't know if you've been on that one. I went, this was years and years ago, probably 5-10 years ago.
I mean, last time I went was 2000.
Yeah,
So.
it was right around then, a little bit after that for me too. So you went in, and it was a circle of like roller coaster seats, and you'd like buckle in and stuff. And then in the center there was just an animatronic Snitch in like a test tube. But it would be dark when you walked in, so you couldn't see anything. The lights would come on.
Oh, yeah.
It would move and it'd introduce it. And I think it used to be alien themed. And then Lilo and Stitch came out, so they remodeled it to Snitch. Snitch. The Golden Snitch.
The Golden Snatch.
Let's just talk about Snatch. And I did the one part I remembered, it would like hit you on the feet and it would like blow air on you. But the one part I remembered was they had where he broke out and he would run around your backs.
Yeah.
And so you would hear it through speakers, but then also it would push down on the shoulder rest. So it felt like he ran past you. And like you would pick one person and like jump on it and he'd like breathe on you and shit. It was really fucking freaky.
Can you imagine it with the alien one?
Yeah.
Fucking the Xenomorph crawling around.
I know. That's what I thought. I was like 12 at the time. I was like, this used to be terrifying.
Dude, and especially people are going to have PTSD now after playing Isolation.
Right. All right. So some of the, let's see here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pick a number 1 through 6. What do you want to do? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. This one's pretty basic. Alternate endings. You had Clue.
I hate alternate endings, except for Clue, because I like Clue.
The way Clue did it, though, I think is ingenious. Because it's not like shitty, like I Am Legend alternate
It's
ending.
not, this is what could have happened. It's more like...
It was like an experience where, for those who don't know, they had 3 or 4 different cuts that they sent out to theaters without telling them. So, depending on what theater you saw it at, you thought a different person committed the murders, which is very true to the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
And is also just really interesting from a movie-going experience.
Mm-hmm. And I think there was an actual canon ending to it. It's just...
There is, yeah.
It's just... you almost have to see the other ones to lead up into the big reveal.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a way to kind of build suspense on...
Well, and I think on the DVD copies of it now, they show every ending in order, and then the true one.
That's what I've got. It's like it just cuts from one to the next. You don't have to go through the menus or anything.
Which is perfect. Mm-hmm. That's the way to do it. All right. 1 through 5.
2.
Okay, so this one's from a movie called Wicked that came out in 1973. It was a horror movie, and they did this thing called Duovision, where the screen was pretty much divided into 2 sections, one being the movie, and then the second one being the killer's perspective the entire time. Which I think is actually pretty cool, as far as a gimmick goes.
Mm-hmm. I think I actually know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I've seen that where it
has like a shitty like Predator kind of filter to it.
Just the whole suspense is you would see the characters on the left as being nonchalant or whatever, but you can see like where the killer is and you can't do anything about it, which creates tension. Yeah.
Which I think is actually pretty cool, especially when you go from the perspective of like Halloween movies and stuff like that and just other slasher flicks where it's impossible that they're doing it.
Yeah.
But if you can see their perspective the entire time, it needs to make sense.
Right.
Because you can watch it the whole time. So you can't just like teleport around and shit. So I thought that one was pretty cool. That's probably my favorite out of them all.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen much of that,
That was the only one that I've seen. So maybe you and I will be the new wave American Hour Tour Duovision film director.
We could just do it like for our lives. We just put we'll just put a GoPro on, and then the big reveal is when I come home from work half an hour after you guys and be like, Aaron,
hey. and then we play Overwatch and go to bed.
Yeah.
All right, 1 through 4.
4.
All right, this one I've actually had experience with. Audience voting.
No, not a fan.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all either. But when I went on a Chicago trip when I was about 9 or 10, and at the Space Museum, whatever it's called there, they had a big IMAX thing, and on each seat they had 4 different color buttons. And I liked how they did it because it was like an educational movie about space. And so it'd be like, if you want to learn about this, press this button. If you want to learn about this, press this. So you could kind of guide the tour to see only what you were interested in.
Right.
Which was a lot of fun. But there have actually been cinematic movies where you would vote in the theater by holding up glowing cards of either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And then the projectionist would put in whatever reel. So like you would vote, I don't like the hero, I want him to fail. Or I want him to win. And then he would change the ending of the movie to cater to the audience, which I think is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, like, that defeats the whole purpose. If I could just have whatever happens, whatever I want to happen.
What's the point of seeing a movie?
Yeah.
I mean, you can just choose what you want to see.
Yeah, I don't think it works for actual, like, fiction.
Yeah.
And also, everyone else would vote for the opposite of me 100% of the time. That always happens. And also, I don't want to play Kahoot.
Fucking Kahoot. When I think it's the idea of choice is interesting. Like there's that Black Mirror Bandersnatch that just came out. There's the Minecraft story mode that's on Netflix where you get to choose pretty much. That's all it is. I think there's other series that they have in talks of doing choose your own adventure series, which I can understand. But when it's a movie and you have max 1 or 2 choices, what's really the point?
It's like just tell the story you want to tell.
Yeah, and even once you get to that point of like the Bandersnatch or something, it stops being a movie to me and it's just a shitty game.
Yeah, it's a game where you just sit there and wait for it. It's basically, you may as well play Telltale.
Yeah, and then there's just no real immersion because it's like, well, I'm just choosing these things. There's no story here.
It's like, yeah, for me, there's no stakes because it's like, well, if they're going to lead up to this and I'm just going to make the decision anyway, it's like, where's the suspense in that?
Yeah.
Like,
or if there is stakes, it's like, okay, well, I just did it wrong. I'll go back and do it again.
Right.
So.
There's no finality to it.
Yeah. All right, 1 through 3.
3?
All right, this one is called Odorama, which is slightly related to another one. But this one was for a John Waters film. I don't know if you know who John Waters is.
Name's familiar.
Soraya's a big John Waters fan. He is a disgusting man that makes disgusting movies. That's the entire point.
Oh, yeah, like the one with, was it Natalie Portman or something? Was that her?
Was she in a John Waters movie? I'm not sure. Let me look that up.
Might be wrong.
Not. Are you thinking of Black Swan?
No.
Okay. I don't know, but
Whatever.
well, his big ones are he made like Pink Flamingos. He made the Hairspray in '88, which was kind of weird. Serial Mom, which is my favorite. A Dirty Shame, Crybaby. But he makes like these just intentionally uncomfortable to look at gross movies with all these gross characters. Like he would go and find these really, like he'd find meth heads in LA and like say, all right, I'm writing an entire character based around you. So just be you. And everyone's shitty actors. Soraya really likes them. But, so for one of his movies, he did a thing called Odorama, where when you bought a ticket, it came with a scratch and sniff.
Oh.
With like 9 to 12 sections.
I don't want that.
And as you're watching it, it would flash the image, and you would scratch it, and you were supposed to sniff it, and they all just smelled terrible.
Well, oh,
just to add to the disgust of the scene for whatever it is.
Yeah. Not a fan of that.
I'm going to strip your agency a little bit here and go into the other one slightly related. Aromarama, which was...
Good smells this time?
No. It was a system that some movie theaters tried getting off where it would just change the aroma of the theater to the mood of the movie. And it said that it could swap it out every 90 seconds. And the first movie that it aired for was a documentary about industrial China.
Oh my god. There's so many options, and they went with that.
Wall. So it would just smell like smog.
What did they just fucking pump a bunch of car exhaust straight into the theater?
And apparently the systems would break a ton, and they costed about $7,200 at the time. And it was like the 60s, so that's super expensive, and they never took off.
Man, I mean, I would like that if it was like subtle and try not to be a gimmick, you know?
Yeah.
Like show a movie and like use like incense or something to set like just another identifier to like help you separate locations in a movie.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of movies use color, for example. You know, they could add smell in there if it's subtle and delicate and not meant to like be noticeable. Almost.
But industrial China.
Yeah.
Which, and then that, I didn't write this one down, but that also led into Smell-O-Vision, which is pretty much a similar concept, just executed differently. Didn't take off because it's just a dumb idea. And then the final one was that there was a movie called Wait Until Dark, which is another horror movie. Mm-hmm. And this movie is famous for Stephen King coming out and saying that it was the scariest film ending he has ever seen. Now, I'm going to preface that by saying I do not trust any opinion that Stephen King has.
I don't think Stephen King is scary.
He's not, at all. and any opinion that he's had of movies that I've seen so far has been awful. But I do kind of like this concept, because it's almost sort of like, did you see the original Paranormal Activity in theaters?
Not in theaters.
So they did a great thing in theaters where there's no credits. Mm-hmm. The movie ends, and then there's like 5 minutes of black. And then it's just over. Mm-hmm. So it was this very shocking, like, unorthodox way to end it.
Well, because it makes you think, like, was that a movie? You know?
Yeah. Kind of like the ending of Seven, I think it is, where the credits go backwards.
Yeah.
They go from top down. Mm-hmm. So what this movie did is, towards the end of the movie, it has Audrey Hepburn in it. And towards the end of the movie, there's some motivation for her to go around the house turning off all the lights. And so then the ushers would time the theater lights, which were on dim, in the movie, they would slowly turn off the lights in the theater until then, after she has them all off, a good chunk of the movie's pitch black. Mm-hmm. And it's entirely pitch black because there's no lights on in the theater at all.
Right.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there was also some other horror gimmicks I saw on there. There was a connoisseur of this bullshit. I can't remember his name right now. I'll see if I can find it real quick. But he would do a whole bunch of stuff like that. Like he would do that. He did a chair called the Tingler, where random seats in the theater would vibrate, so you wouldn't know if you were going to get the vibrations. There was one where at the end of the movie he took a glow-in-the-dark skeleton and swung it from the ceiling back and forth.
Spooky!
Which, this was the 50s.
Yeah.
So I think people are a little bit more susceptible to it. But yeah, there's a whole list of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into stuff like that if it's supposed to be more of an art piece. You know, especially for horror, I feel like that's the genre that could use gimmicks.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, because you almost don't have to take it super seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I would like it if they shut off all the lights in the theater. Like, even with normal movies, make it dark. Like,
yeah,
spook me out a little bit. But see what I want individual movie pods.
Okay.
You can sit in that are isolated. That if you're gonna go gimmicks and start doing the 4D kind of shit,
yeah,
make it an individual experience.
Okay.
You know, because you could have like the motion.
Okay.
You could have the Smell-O-Vision if you really wanted it, right? You know, it's manageable because it's a small area. You know, you could deal with you could fuck with the lighting like that if you wanted to. Like, all of these ideas, I think the big shortcoming is trying to do it to a bunch of people sitting shoulder to shoulder in a fucking movie theater.
Yeah, and kind of trying to take the audience out of that atmosphere of it.
Yeah, and like that's the big thing. Like VR, for example, like the scariest fucking games are in VR.
Yeah,
in my opinion, because you're isolated.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have your buddy sit next to you. You can sit there and like pull you out of the movie to go back into the real world for a while.
Yeah,
like you're just stuck in it.
Yeah,
and I mean, I would love it if there was like, especially horror experiences that were like that, because if there's nothing around you at all, you're only going to be focused on the movie.
Yeah,
because the brain is just going to tune out anything that isn't like relevant, and if there's only one source of input in front of you,
yeah,
it's going to focus on it.
You're just going to be laser focused.
Yeah, which I think will make you more susceptible to these extra 4D experiences.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's it for this episode, except I have to announce my musical.
Yep.
And, Marty, I've been thinking. Mm-hmm. Since it's just you and me, I'm going to let you help me pick.
All right.
I have 3 options that I'm debating between.
Yeah.
All right? I have the one I was going to pick. Another option that I have not seen, but I've been wanting to see and I've heard is good. Mm-hmm. And then I have the movie that is the equivalent to my Batman v Superman pick.
So you,
for superheroes. You
have one you want to see, one you're not sure of, and one that is awful. Yes. So we got the whole spectrum.
The thing though with the one I want to see is that I don't know how long of a conversation we'd really be able to have about it.
Gotcha. Which
is why I started thinking of the other options. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to get rid of that one right off the bat. The one I was going to pick, which was going to be Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's no depth to that.
Yeah, because that's really the only musical I've ever seen that I like. But how are we going to talk about that for 45 minutes?
We can't.
So, we have the movie that is good, that I've never seen, but I've heard is good. And I guess you could call my troll pick.
Okay.
Which one would you like to vote for?
So I can't know.
You cannot know what they are.
That
would ruin the spirit
Let's go with the one
of the rotation.
that was said to be good. Let's just try it.
So I'm going to do the opposite of that, and I'm going to pick the troll pick,
Okay.
which is High School Musical.
I hate you. How are we supposed to talk about that one?
We're going to talk about High School Musical for next week's episode.
What was your other pick?
Almost Famous.
I don't know.
Which is a movie about, it's based off of Lynyrd Skynyrd, I think, or Def Leppard, where the director, I think it's Robert Zemeckis, had actually traveled with them a lot, so he made a movie pretty much about it, about a groupie that wants to try and become famous. But instead, we're going to watch High School Musical.
Well, then I'm making us watch Rockstar.
I kind of like Rockstar. I watched that a lot as a kid.
Oh, no.
I haven't seen it since.
No.
All right, that's going to do it for this week. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube as the Default White Guys, Instagram as the Default White Guys. Make sure to watch next week so that we can talk about High School Musical.
If I'm not part of the next podcast, you know what happened.
Oh, you're going to be, Marty.
Uh-huh.
You're going to be. Maybe we can watch all three.
Maybe I'll seppuku myself. I'll Sudoku myself.